Gear up, because this is the Fuel Your Marketing podcast, designed to accelerate sales and grow your business. Let's welcome your host, Arti Sharma.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Fuel Your Marketing podcast. I'm Arti, and today we're going to talk about how to budget your marketing dollars for a higher impact. Now, this subject is very close to my heart. Given that my company name is Measure Marketing Results, we are a digital marketing agency, and for us, measuring the impact of marketing spend is very important. So, given my role at my company, I meet a lot of business owners, senior executive management teams, and what keeps them really up at night is not just about growing their sales, increasing their market share, but also how much is enough. When will I see a return on my marketing spend? What should I expect in terms of return on an investment? What if the campaign or marketing approach we're working on doesn't work? Trust me, these are burning questions that are on back of their mind. These fears hound them, especially in the marketing departments. But as we all know, marketing is an essential element of doing business. Now, imagine without marketing, what would you be able to share? Would you be able to share your next product or your revolutionary service or a service that you're really proud of to your target audience, to your existing clients? So marketing is definitely an essential element of doing business. But many companies, when they're not doing really well, when the revenue is low, or they've not been able to achieve the impact that they were looking for, one thing that gets slashed is the marketing budget, because many a times marketing is seen as an expense rather than an investment. It's sad, but that's the reality. Now, some of the fears or imaginary thoughts that I just talked about may not have any legs, but there is a way to be creative around those ideas, because one can get strategic as you plan your marketing budgets and subsequent tactics and activities that you would perhaps do as a result of your allocating those marketing dollars. Again, this is not an expense. For those of you who are in roles where you're handling your companies, your businesses, please, I urge you to see marketing as an investment to grow your business. Again, you have to be strategic about it, no question. But one advice I always give is, what are the measurement metrics that you can put in place to get past those fears? What are your key performance indicators? When you get clarity on those, trust me, marketing would start to see more as an investment, and you would see as an investment rather than an expense. So many times when I'm speaking to these progressive small and medium-sized companies, as I said, the question I get asked a lot is, Arti, how do you allocate enough budgets to succeed? Now, let me say this, there is no perfect answer to that. The perfect marketing budget for your company is completely unique and is impacted by a lot of different factors. And we'll talk about those factors in this episode. But before we go there, each company is unique. Each company's goals may be different. They may have a different way of approaching their buyers, or their buyers may have different patterns of absorbing marketing messages or marketing information, and hence a different marketing plan will be needed for any companies. So the marketing budgets will have to be different. Now, if marketers come back to you, if you're working with a company and they say you need to have this much budget in order to succeed, unless it's a digital marketing campaign, you really want to ask them why this much marketing budget is needed. What is the research they have done? How deeply do they understand your market and understand the message or your goal in order for you to spend that marketing money? What are the key performance indicators of success? What would be the metrics that we are going to measure as a result of that marketing spend? And what kind of timeline are we going to allocate in order to achieve that return? Because you know what? Planning is very important when you're spending bigger dollars. Even if you're spending smaller dollars, you still want to know what's going to be the return on investment. Even if you do not get the desired return, at least you need to get the data to be able to make more informed decisions in the future. So let's go back and say, what is the perfect marketing budget for your company? As I said, it is impacted by a few factors, such as how long have you been in the business and your average income or your average revenue. the type of business you are, and also your target audience. Who is your customer? What kind of buying patterns do they have? How do they behave? In episode number 2, I talked about customers' buyer journey. So how deeply do you know your customers' buying patterns, their buyer journey, in order to allocate budgets to say what is going to be my customer acquisition cost if I have to do these many brand touch points, typically about 8 to 27, 9 to 35. These are the rough numbers we've been seeing in various industries. That is the number of touch points that you require in order to kind of get that visibility or that resonation or engagement with a potential client. So for those many brand touch points, what are the various activities that you would need? And in order for you to get through those activities, what is the strategic plan, first of all? So it's all kind of intertwined, but the best way to look at it is that your company is unique, and you need to look at all these different factors as to how long you've been in the business, what's your average income, what type of business you are, who is your customer, and how do they behave to the marketing messages. So in my opinion, let's talk about some smaller startup kind of businesses, which are, let's say, between 1 to 5 years in business. Now, if you are one of those business who's been around for about 1 to 5 years, I would say you need a little bit more aggressive budgets, because your marketing budget and tactics have to be aggressive in order to establish your market share. Though you may feel that being a younger company, you're less profitable than some of those established firms in your industry. But in order for you to become that established firm or a stronger brand and have a more profitable client base, customer base, I highly recommend that as a newer business, you want to definitely budget between 12 to 20% of your gross revenue to marketing. Now, not all of this budget has to be allocated to digital. Try different channels. We always recommend that. Do some kind of traditional marketing campaigns, do some online marketing campaigns. But again, look at your key performance indicators of success for each of those channels. Look at what is working, what is not working. Trust me, when you become more data-centric, more data-oriented, you would be able to make more wiser decisions to spend your marketing dollars. And also, come next year, fast forward 12 months, you would have the data that will dictate what your forecasted marketing budget should be. So it's very critical. Again, if you are a startup business or a smaller, younger business, try to kind of pledge between 12 to 20% of your gross revenue. Now, if you are a business with 5 or more years under your belt, and you have likely already succeeded in establishing a brand for yourself, there's a lot more brand awareness in your market, and you have a more profitable customer base. And in that case, most of the legwork of marketing has already been done. You've done a lot of different campaigns, and you've accomplished a lot of different successes. So in that case, the budgets can shrink accordingly. And that is typically companies who are more than 5 years and up. But in case you're a 5-year-old company, but you haven't marketed enough in those first 5 years, you would still look at budgets between 12 to 20%. But if you're a company who has marketed in the first 5 years, but now you have a stable growth goal, I'd say between 6 to 12% of your gross revenue is good. However, the budgets change and shift when you're looking at a very aggressive sales growth. I mean, I was talking to another client of ours who wants to triple their sales in the next 12 months, but they didn't want to increase their marketing budget. And we wanted to kind of dig deeper as to why that thinking was coming from. And when we looked at the historical marketing trends, we recognized that there was a lot of marketing dollars that were spent on a lot of traditional kind of marketing. But then when we became creative with the PR strategies, the social PR strategies, how can we get them more visibility and more bigger brands looking at them, more partnering opportunities, and then combine that with an automated campaigns and digital marketing, remarketing strategies. We became creative. So when you're looking at your marketing budget, look at your strategic approach as well, and look at some historical marketing you've done. But because sometimes within that marketing budget of about 6 and 12% also, you could become a little bit more creative to grow your sales. But if you don't have that plan and you don't know how to work around that, then of course, we have strategists in our company who can help you. But at the same time, work with somebody who understands how can they become more, think outside the box to get to that branding, that visibility that can accelerate your lead generation flow. So deciding how much money to devote to marketing is a major step, but it requires a lot more closer look, as I said, on when, where, and how to spend your marketing budget. And in today's day where marketing dollars can definitely be measured through digital, the return on investment should be also thought through. Now, when we talk about return on investment, there are a few different metrics I want to share with you. Marketing drives sales, right? So look at your customer acquisition cost. And then when you've looked at your customer acquisition cost, look at also the customer lifetime value, because that will determine how effective was your marketing campaign. Because maybe even you're a newer business, you don't have those numbers. And sometimes even progressive businesses, even businesses who've been, in being for 30 years, 40 years, haven't been measuring these metrics. And I highly recommend, because many a times we put a random number to our marketing budget without even thinking through as to what kind of an impact will it have on our other functions within the business, be it sales, be it operations. And the reason why I say operations is because as much as it is a marketing function, marketing to your existing customers falls under operations. So how do you budget and allocate marketing budgets to your existing customers should also be looked at, because every new acquisition of a customer should be from new marketing spend that you're doing. And then again, retaining those customers should also be an important metric that you want to measure as part of your return on investment. So more and more companies are, as we all know, are moving away from billboards and, buying radio or TV placement ads or producing these, awesome flyers, postcards, and posters. There's a lot that can be done in terms of allocating the right amount of marketing budgets based on a strategic approach, as I just shared, and based on a lot of different things and items and facts that you want to introspect first, and then make sure that your marketing tactics are based on an overarching strategy, and that strategy is in alignment with your overall goals for the company. Because fast forward a couple of years, a lot will again change. Now, the marketing budget that you've allocated today, regardless of the size of your company, you could look at it and say, okay, this was good now, but maybe that budget needs to increase as we are looking at a growth, or it needs to reduce as we have, again, been very effective in capturing a larger market share. So you have to decide that. Now, from an online perspective, I can tell you one thing, that online marketing budgets are growing partly because companies are seeing they can spend less than traditional marketing and get an increased or a greater return on investment. For example, one of my best, I would say, one of my favorite marketing strategies is email marketing and automation, because it allows for you to reach a larger segment of your traditional marketing database, and then you can combine that with your search, your content, and your, I would say, paid advertising of some sort, and then measure those marketing touch points along the way, and be able to determine how many marketing touch points did it take for me to convert a cold lead or a traditionally warmed up lead into a typical client. So we've seen a progressive, organizations within, I would say, small to medium sized businesses allocate about sometimes about 30% to about 35% of the overall marketing budget on online and digital marketing, and this continues to grow. So, for example, if you've allocated $50,000 a year, of that, about 40% would be traditionally a lot more spent on online, and then the rest would be on maybe trade shows or, traditional events or sponsorships, etc. But then that range is expanding as more and more metrics are coming into play. Companies are becoming more aware of taking a data-driven approach to budgeting. So these are some benchmarks that I just shared with you based on some of our experiences, based on what we've seen in the industry. But in the end, your marketing budget really depends on your business growth, your goals, your annual revenue forecast, how your consumers buy, and what problems your product or your service is going to solve for them. Just remember, with online marketing, you have the power to measure your marketing spend against return on investment. And starting out to measure some of the data early on is highly, highly important, because as we progress into the next few years, data is going to become the cornerstone for you to know where to spend your marketing budgets. I mean, imagine being the business owner and CEO, you're able to pinpoint on a strategy that is the most successful strategy for the year that generated the highest number of sales. And now you have a system or a process where you can actually replicate that year in year again, or maybe with small modifications, small tweaks, you could again rerun that campaign. So for me, marketing is an investment. I'm a marketer. I'm a little bit biased about it, but I also know that companies who appropriately allocate their marketing spend early on in their business are more, and then measure that spend against results, ROI. They have their success metrics very clearly defined, are able to, in the long run, shrink their marketing budgets more appropriately, or maybe allocate or reallocate those for a larger growth. I'll give you an example. We have a client who was in a startup phase. Now they're about 6 years old, company. But in the beginning of their marketing, period of their first 5 years, they were big on sponsorships. They were big on digital. They were running paid advertising. They were running remarketing ads. They were investing in videos. They were producing a whole lot of content with us. And all of a sudden, you see them as a larger brand because they are competing with some of the large franchisors. You would not believe it, but this company would, if you look at it, you would not feel as if they're a new brand or they're a 5-year-old company, because at the end of the day, this organization has been able to establish themselves as a result of allocating the right marketing budgets to their branding efforts, to their online lead generation efforts, and also their online lead management efforts in a way through between traditional and online marketing, and then pinpoint to the right channels, which will dictate how their marketing dollars are spent in the next few years. So if you're in a very competitive marketplace and you want to craft your market share, look at your marketing budgets more closely, look at your marketing budgets more creatively, and look at your marketing budgets with a more data-driven approach, and allocate the right amount of money. Because if you allocate less, sometimes you may get frustrated because marketing is inexpensive. Is not an expense, but it can be expensive. So with that said, I want to thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in. If you find this episode was helpful, please go to iTunes Store, search for Fuel Your Marketing with Arti Sharma, rate us, review us. We'd love to get your feedback. Thank you again for listening. And until next time, keep crushing it. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Fuel Your Marketing podcast. For more episodes, visit www.fuelyourmarketing.ca.